Chapter 2. Sucks to be you. Dirk ignored the general din around him as he read a book, the text displayed on a screen built into the table at which he sat, until the sound of clopping flip-flops stopped just behind him. A chill ran up his spine as if someone had walked over his grave, the odor accompanying it akin to that person having then taken a shit on it. "Dirk Dingleberry," a raspy voice grated behind him. Dirk looked up but didn't turn around. "It's Dewberry, actually, but thanks for the nostalgic trip back to the 3rd grade where the last kid called me Dingleberry. I hit him so fucking hard with my lunchbox I put him in special class. I don't suppose you went to East Fremont Reform School, did you? Maybe you two sat next to each other. He was the one drooling, you know, more than the others." "No, it's definitely Dingleberry. You're a little piece of shit clinging to the asses of greater men." Dirk swiveled around on the backless seat attached to the table and smiled up at the green and brown mottled face glaring down at him. "Rakish, are you lost? This area is for people who will actually get out of this place someday." "There appears to be a problem with the showers in Supermax again," Rakish replied in a deep, phlegmy voice. Dirk crinkled his nose and squinted one eye. "Speaking of clinging shit, I have a feeling this is not a recent development." Rakish glared at him a moment before growling, "I know you stole my cake." "What cake?" "You know damn well what cake. My birthday cake that was in the kitchen." Dirk shrugged his shoulders. "I don't have access to the kitchens. I'm on mop and sop duty. Besides, they keep that place locked up on account of all the sharp and pointy things they have in there. You should talk to the kitchen workers." "I did. Extensively." "Ah, that explains the plain protein bars instead of our usual breakfast gruel. Hard to make shit on a cinder block when all you're given is the cinder block." Rakish bent down, an action that took a moment due to his substantial height, sniffed, and squinted at a brown speck on Dirk's prison shirt. "What is that?" Dirk tucked his chin and rolled his eyes downward. "Probably just a rat turd." "How would a rat turd get on a space station?" "Space rats?" Rakish licked the tip of a long, gnarly finger, pressed it to the speck, and then brought it to his mouth. "You just gonna roll the dice on that not being a rat turd, huh? Man, remind me never to gamble with you." The troll rubbed the crumb around in his overly large mouth. "Chocolate." "Chocolate space rats?" Dirk said. A low rumbling reverberated from Rakish's throat, usually a sure sign of impending violence, but he choked it off and stood up straight. "You're lucky I have more important things to do at the moment, and I don't want to waste the time to rip off your arms and legs and eat them in lieu of my cake." "Human's usually more of a Christmas meal anyway. Tell you what, now that I know it's your birthday, I want to give you a present." Rakish squinted at Dirk. "What?" "An exfoliating loofah. If you scrub hard enough, you might be able to get rid of that new dick smell you got clinging to you." The rumbling returned, and Dirk was sure he had finally gone too far and pressed the button that would result in the loss of one or more limbs. The guards certainly appeared to show no interest in the future of his good health and watched on like sports spectators. A large shadow fell over them both, and Rakish ceased his growling. Dirk craned his head up and saw Brick looming over them both with his massive arms crossed before his chest. He bore a look meant to intimidate, and few creatures wore such a look better than a stone-biter ogre. Rakish looked up from his own imposing height of 7 feet to meet Brick's fierce gaze and smiled. "I hope you and your friends enjoyed the cake. I think it's important for people to enjoy their last meal. Farewell to you all." Both men watched the troll stalk toward the showers, his rubber sandals slapping the hard floor. Brick let out the breath he'd been holding. "Wow, that was intense. I thought for sure he was going to kill you. I did not want to be put in a position to avenge your death." "What are you worried about? You took him once. I'm sure you could do it again." Brick shrugged and rolled his head around on his thick neck. "Yeah, I know, but I just don't want to be that guy anymore." "What guy?" The guy who's always fighting and hurting people and biting off bits of their body. Being stuck in here has made me realize that I've been living my life wrong, and I want to take this time to better myself. Learn a new way to express my feelings." "You mean without biting off people's penises?" "Definitely without biting off penises. That was a low point for me. You know, my rock bottom." Dirk grinned up at him. "Or clock bottom." That's not funny." "I'm sorry." What do you think he meant by the cake being our last meal? I can't help thinking he meant that as a threat. Brick bobbed his head. It was definitely a threat. It's weird that the showers in Supermax are broken again, isn't it? I mean, all of them? What are the odds of all of them being broken again? Math isn't really my strong suit. Yeah, I'm no master of probability either, but it's got to be astronomical. Maybe we should ask Red. Ask Red what? Red asked. Red and the rest of his cell block strolled up, probably having seen the exchange between him and Rakish and had been waiting for its conclusion before approaching. Technically, of the group, only Joralden and the half-elf Raphael had not been part of his crew, but they'd shared the same prison wing with him for the past 3 years, and he had pseudo-adopted them, even though he found the uptight elf and the vacuous half-elf a bit tedious at times. Rakish said all the showers were broken in Supermax again. That's why he's down here in Gen Pop, Dirk replied. Red scratched beneath his ginger beard. That don't sound right. Whoever put this station together did a damn good job. It's built to ensure there's minimal maintenance so there's few unknowns coming in and out to cut down on contraband and the possibility of escape. You think it's part of an escape plan? Punk shook her head. Not a chance. There's like a 10 light-minute transit inhibitor all around the station. That means a ship can only approach using their sublight system drive, and this place has defenses equal to a military outpost. Any ships trying to get close without authorization would get shredded before they got within 1,000 kilometers. Well, he's definitely up to something, Dirk insisted. Whatever it is, it's definitely not escape. Several explosions rocked the station, and an automated voice rang out over the loudspeakers. Attention! Emergency lockdown procedures are now in place. Prisoners are required to return to their cells immediately. Armed response teams are required at the central hub quarters A1, A2, and A3. Armed response teams are required at General Population Ring quarters A2 and B3. Nice call, punks! Dirk shouted over the alarm klaxon. With psychic powers like that, you could be the next Nostradamus. If Nostradamus was a retarded space rat. Screw you. With this being prison and all, I'd probably make an exception and take you up on that. But I don't think there's time. Joralden tugged on his arm. We need to get out of here. I agree, but where? Back to our cells, obviously. Are you out of your mind? Lock ourselves in a tiny cubicle while the whole fucking prison blows up around us? At least we have additional force fields and an air supply there. Air Supply, best freaking classic rock band ever, and definitely what I want played at my funeral, but I'm not ready to die yet. Another explosion rocked the station. Then where the hell do you suggest we go? Joralden shouted as prisoners and guards rushed about, all eager to reach some sort of safety. Attention! Armed response teams needed at airlock B2 in the General Population Ring. The automated systems blared. Dirk grinned widely. Airlock B2. Where the armed response team is going now? Are you mad? I'm not exactly happy about having the station blowing up around me, but I wouldn't say I'm necessarily mad. I mean, are you insane? There has been some discussion on that matter, but that's neither here nor there. The response teams are spread thin, and if they need one at the airlock, then that means there's a ship there that's not supposed to be. That means that's how Rakish plans on getting off this floating scrap heap, which means it's the best chance we have at getting off this floating scrap heap. And you think he's just going to let us hitch a ride, assuming we can even reach it? Fuck no, not a chance. That's why we're gonna steal it. You guys with me, or do you trust the prison isn't gonna develop a core breach and explode in a tiny nova and spread our atoms across the cosmos? Joralden opened her mouth, but snapped it shut when another explosion shook the decking and the emergency lights came on to chase away the moment of pure darkness. Let's get out of here. Dirk and his crew raced for one of the several connecting corridors, but not the one that led directly to the B2 airlock, since that would likely put armed response teams and whoever was orchestrating the prison break between them and what they all hoped was a waiting ship. The sound of gunfire, both low-yield energy and slug throwers designed to be used inside ships and stations with the reduced chances of causing hull breaches, grew louder. They slowed to a hurried shuffle as the firefight sounded as though it were just around the corner. Which it was. Dirk saw the backs of not armed security exchanging gunfire with armed prison guards around another corner. He motioned his people to stay quiet and hastened toward the airlock. Just beyond the open blast doors, which should have been closed during a lockdown, stood 2 more men who were clearly not guards, crouched around the airlock bulkhead. Dirk motioned for Brick to come forward where he hid behind the blast door bulkhead. I know you're going through some emotional and spiritual metamorphosis, but behind those two assholes is our only chance at freedom. Can I get you to go full-out Hulk on him?" Brick took only a second to think about it before nodding. He began taking in deep breaths, each one coming faster than the previous, until the jaundiced whites of his eyes turned red and his body trembled. With an ear-shattering roar, he grabbed the one-piece prison jumpsuit in his massive hands, ripped it off his body, and charged the two men guarding the airlock. "Why did he have to get naked to do that?" Geraldine asked, her face blanching at the sight but unable to look away. "The only thing more terrifying and morale-destroying than a charging enraged rockbiter ogre is a charging naked enraged rockbiter ogre," Dirk replied. The two men guarding the airlock screamed and fired wildly. One had a slug thrower and the other a laser rifle. But the reduced power they used for shipboard combat did little more than gouge furrows and singe Brick's thick epidermis. Brick grabbed the one who stood and turned to run by one arm in the back of his neck and proceeded to beat the other man with him until they both stopped moving and screaming. With another roar, he disappeared into the vessel. After a minute or two, bodies started flying out of the ship and piling up near the airlock. Dirk turned when the gunfire behind him changed tempo. His eyes widened and he turned to his crew when a familiar form rounded the corner. "Oh shit, it's Rakish. You guys get inside and help Brick secure the ship. I'll try to slow him down." Gerald and the others didn't need any more encouragement when Rakish bellowed in rage as his eyes settled on Dirk. Dirk could tell he had taken several wounds, but only the laser weapons remained blistered and angry. He could heal the wounds caused by the slug throwers with his insane regeneration ability nearly as fast as they inflicted damage. Dirk stepped inside the airlock and closed the door with a push of a button. Rakish slammed into the steel portal, rebounded, and pushed the button to open it back up. Dirk pushed the button on his side, and the door slid back shut. "You miserable piece of shit!" Rakish screamed through the small window in the airlock door. "Open this goddamn door, or I will hunt you down no matter where you hide. I will hang you in my larder and cut off pieces of your flesh for my dinner. I will pump you full of regen so you'll never die." "Oh, calm down there. I'm trying to open the door. I think it's broken," Dirk said, his voice sent over the speakers built into both sides of the door. "Bullshit! You're trying to steal my ship!" "What? Nah, you got it all wrong. An armed response team stormed it, and we're trying to get it back so you can drop us off at the nearest planet or station out of system. We're on the same side here. It's us versus them." Rakish pushed the button and the door slid up an inch before Dirk closed it again. The troll's outraged screams were incoherent, the spittle flying from his mouth obscuring the window. "Hold on," Dirk said, pretending to listen to someone inside. "Red says your goons must have broken the servos. We have to push the buttons at the exact same time." Rakish's pointed teeth gnashed together, and he gave Dirk a curt nod. "Okay, we push on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Rakish pushed his button, and the door slid up an inch before slamming back down. "You motherfucker!" Rakish screamed. "Me? You're the one who pushed it too early." "You said on 3. "Yeah, 1, 2, 3, push." "So after 3, not on 3. "It's the same thing." "It's not the same fucking thing," Rakish bellowed. "One is pushing on the word 3. The other is after, the same as if pushing on 4. Dirk cocked his head. 4? Who fucking said anything about 4? There's no 4. An explosion shook the station and a fireball erupted into the men holding off the security team. Dirk thought it might have been from a missile launched outside the prison. "Let's try again. On 3. Remember? 1, 2, 3, push." "Fine, just do it already." "Here goes. 1, 2. Dirk pushed the button and the door started to slide open. Rakish pushed his button a second later before his brain could register that the door was already moving and it slid shut again. He pounded on the barrier with his fist. "God damn you, Dingleberry! You better hope to whatever god you pray to that I die out here or—" Another explosion, this one definitely a missile, ripped into the corridor behind Rakish, opening a large rent out into space. The sudden vacuum ripped him away and hurled him into the vast expanse. The last thing he saw being Dirk's grinning face and a hoisted middle finger through the airlock window. Dirk pressed his hand against the glass as Rakish jetted away and began to sing. I would rather hurt myself than to ever make you cry. There's nothing left to try, though it's gonna hurt us both. There's no other way than to say goodbye. A new alarm began to sound when another explosion ripped into the prison, and the system overrode whatever rackets people had done to the blast door to keep it open, and it slammed shut. Attention. Manor reactor core has been compromised. All personnel should begin evacuating the station. You're okay, that's about enough of that, Dirk said as he hastened into the ship. He hurried to the bridge and found Geraldine, Punks, Laz, and Raphael already strapped into their seats. What happened to Rakish? Geraldine asked as Dirk strapped in. We had a problem with the door, so we found another way off the station. Where's Brick and Red? Brick's double-checking security, and Red headed straight to engineering, Laz said. Sounds like we're good to go then. Punks, see if there's any air supply in the databanks for some awesome escape music, and let's fire this thing up and get the hell out of here. There's one problem, Geraldine said. I don't recognize the control configuration. Are you saying you don't know how to fly this thing? The elf's eyes danced across the control panel before forcing herself to admit, I can figure out the system drive, but I have no idea how to activate the warp drive. Punks broke in and interrupted whatever vicious invective Dirk was about to utter. Whatever we're gonna do, we need to do it fast. The transit dampening field is down, and I'm picking up 4 warp signatures less than half a life second away. I'm guessing heavy cruisers by their size and frequency. Fuck! Dirk shouted and pounded a fist against the console in front of him. Punks, give me internal comms. Open, she replied. Red, can you hear me? Red's voice came from an unseen speaker. Yep, we got a problem. Yeah, we're aware. Is there anything you can do to get us far enough away from the station to warp us out of here? Not possible. Why not? This thing doesn't have a warp drive. Are you fucking kidding me? Dirk railed. What kind of moron plans a jailbreak with a ship without a frickin' warp drive? The kind that plans an escape with a ship equipped with a chaos drive, Red answered. Dirk let out a low whistle. Holy Christ on a unicycle. A freaking chaos drive. Dad explains how they were able to get past the transit dampening field and station defense. What is a chaos drive? Geraldine asked. Just a drive that can take you anywhere in time and space and costs more than a freaking planet, if you can find one of the 3 known to exist in the entire universe. I thought they were just a myth, Laz said. Apparently not. Congratulations, we will go down in history as the people with the most expensive coffin ever built. Someone must know how to fly it, or they couldn't have gotten here, Geraldine said. Oh, for sure, Dirk replied. Why don't you just go back outside and ask the guy with the broken neck, or maybe the one with the crushed skull, if they can warp us out of here. Only a wild mage can harness the chaos field, so unless you got one polishing that stick you keep up your ass, we ain't going nowhere. I do not have a stick up my ass. Are you fucking kidding me? I could stand you on your head and use you as a mop. Raphael cleared his throat and raised his hands like he was a student wanting to use the bathroom. I'm a wild mage. Dirk locked his eyes on the half-elf. Are you yanking my freaking chain here? Oh, no way, man. It's why I'm here. You see, I had an accident, and a lot of people died. Now I use drugs to dull my eternal pain and heartache. Yeah, that's freaking great. First chance we get, we'll book you on one of those psychiatrist talk shows. I promise. Can you fly this thing? Oh, yeah, totally. The two stared at each other for several seconds. You mean now? Well, I hear Artemis 3 is beautiful in the spring, and I thought maybe we might plan our escape around that time. Yeah, right fucking now, you moron. Jerry, move your narrow ass and change places with the moron. My name is Geraldine, not Jerry, she said coldly as she made her way to the seat Raphael vacated. My father told me never to trust anyone with more than 2 syllables in their name. So now you're Jerry. Get used to it. I will not. Yeah, whatever. Raph, you got this thing? Yeah, piece of cake, man. Oh, man, I could go for another piece of cake right now. Punks shouted. 4 heavy cruisers just transited in, and one is locking onto us with weapons. Get us out of here, Raph. Where should we go? Raphael asked. Anywhere. Just don't warp us into the sun or like the heart of the Human Federation Navy. Okay, hold on. Raphael channeled his magic through the console and into the heart of the Chaos Drive. Dirk's stomach felt like it was turning inside out for a split second, but beyond that, nothing seemed to happen. What happened? Dirk asked. Did we go anywhere? Punk studied the screen in front of her. Yeah, like almost 20 light years. Rick wedged himself into the bridge's doorway. What the heck just happened? We warped, Dirk answered. Punks, do you know where we are? Punks looked at the readout. Oh, shit. Attention unidentified vessel. You have illegally transited into Human Federation space. You will power down all systems except life support and surrender, or you will be destroyed. No less than 24 different targeting systems locked onto them. Dirk jammed a finger onto the control panel and brought up the large projection screen. A massive station brimming with weaponry and surrounded by dozens of Navy vessels filled his view. You gotta be fucking kidding me. He turned on Raphael. I specifically told you not to warp us into the heart of the Federation. Sorry, dude, the half-elf replied. Once you said it, I couldn't get it out of my head. Well, thank God I didn't say it the other way around, or we'd be in the heart of the sun. Raphael chuckled. That's called positive thinking, man. Way to look on the bright side. Red, can we make another jump? Not a chance, the dwarf replied over the system's comm. That Chaos Drive takes a lot of juice, and the mana bottle's down to a quarter tank. It takes nearly half, by my best estimate, to make a transition. Most things that required energy ran on mana. Most magic had died out over the centuries as technology gained increasing supremacy, but mana was still vital to power machines from something as simple as a vid player to objects as massive and sophisticated as spaceship drives. Mages, like Raphael, still existed, but their ability was almost exclusively geared toward making machines run than conjuring lightning and fireballs out of thin air like their ancestors once had. Dirk sighed. Punks, any luck on finding some air supply? No. Congratulations, people. Our escape is now officially a complete fucking disaster. We won the land for like 3 seconds. There's gotta be some kind of record, Brick said. Rakish heard the explosion an instant before invisible hands ripped him from the bulkhead and hurled him out into space. The last thing he saw before his eyes froze into ice cubes was Dirk's hand pressed against the glass, his mouth moving in what he assumed was something insulting. He didn't believe the mournful look on his face was anything other than mocking. The next thing he knew, he was in an airlock. Every muscle and fiber in his body felt as though it were on fire before being dunked in ice water. He shivered uncontrollably. Forcing himself to his feet, he pressed the comm button. Where am I? Rakish spit into the comm unit. A face he knew well appeared in the graphene window. Hey, boss. How you doing? Dino, where am I? You're on the Harpy. Rakish always had a Plan B, and the Harpy was a Plan B ship he had sent in the moment the insertion team disabled the warp inhibitor field. Its primary purpose was to create more havoc for the guard force by pummeling the station with low-yield missiles and to act as his backup getaway ship. This wasn't the first time his redundancies had saved his life. It was one reason why he'd been able to avoid prison for more than a century. Why do you have me locked in here? Dino swallowed hard and looked nervous. We weren't sure how you'd react once you thawed out, so I figured we'd best keep you in the airlock as a precaution. Plus, we could crank up the heat in there. Let me out. Yeah, sure thing, boss. Dino stabbed the button and the door slid open. Sorry about that, boss. We didn't have a lot of time to do much except snatch you up and clear out, he said as he worked to match Rakish's long, agitated stride. You did well, Dino. You all did. I assume we lost the Pandora. Dino bobbed his head. Yeah, it took off just before we did. We lost comms with it, and you weren't on it, so I assumed someone else got it. They must have taken at least the navigator hostage since they jumped. No. They had their own wild mage, although I never thought him capable of navigating a chaos drive. So you know who took it? The pair reached the bridge, the crew jumping to attention with only slightly less than military precision. I do, but he won't have it for long. What's our status? Contessa Ogata, a dark elf and captain of the Harpy, stood at something resembling attention and said, We took a couple hits from the cruisers that warped in just as we were retrieving you. We managed to jump away before they could cripple or destroy us. I've put us on the course to the nearest station that doesn't ask questions or answer to any governments for repairs." Dino saw Rakish's face writhe in barely suppressed fury. "We can change course, though, boss. You just tell us what you want us to do." "Maintain your course," Rakish said, his expression relaxing and turning not quite into a smile. "Once we're on station, I want a 10 million qubit bounty put on the head of Dirk Dewberry. 20 if they can bring him to me alive."